There are 2 units of the black box, and 1 unit of the black box that has been recovered has been damaged. The other unit is said to be okay, and it's the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau that's yet to decide whether and where the black box data will be decoded. And this is a decision as to where will this happen. That will be taken soon. And to know more on this, we have Vishnu Som joining us. Vishnu, a lot of decisions to be taken, and those decisions will be taken soon is what we're hearing in regard to the black box. Take us through how damaged is the black box, and from what we're hearing is only one part, 1 unit of the black box has been damaged. The other one is said to be intact.
We've got a lot of detail now coming in on the exact status of the black boxes. The black boxes are critical as far as the investigation is concerned into AI 171, in which more than 260 people, in total lost their lives. Now, there are 2 black box units on this Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft. Each black box unit has a cockpit voice recorder and a digital data recorder, flight data recorder. So the 2 together compose 1 black box. There are 2 of them. Now, what NDTV has learned is that 1 unit has been damaged. The other one is okay. A decision will be taken on what to do with the damaged unit. There is a possibility of that 1 unit being sent abroad. Alternatively, since the other unit appears to be relatively okay, that could be opened in India itself. There is a facility run by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited near Lucknow, which could be used to extract data from the cockpit voice recorder and the digital flight data recorder of the black box, which is relatively undamaged. Now, if indeed they choose to send it abroad, they could send it to the United States, to the National Transport Safety Board. They could send it to the United Kingdom and their Federal Aviation Administration regulator, which is A, one of the finest in the world, and B, there are more than 50 British nationals, remember, who lost their lives in this crash. So there is a certain stake that the UK has in this. It could be sent to Singapore as well. Now, basically, the cockpit voice recorder and the digital flight data recorder have a chip. That chip needs to be extracted very, very carefully, and it needs to be inserted into a slave unit. It is binary data that comes out, that is transferred or translated through the computer into engineering data. That engineering data is then available to the investigators to interpret, and it's on the basis of that data that they can come out with their accident report. So the big question is, when will the accident report come out? What we do not know at this juncture is whether there'll be a preliminary report and then a final report, or whether there'll be one report which comes out. But a decision on what to do with these black boxes will take place in a finite period of time.
Right. Vishnu, of course, they also need to rule out a sabotage angle, and that is something that the investigation is also going to determine.
Quite right. At this juncture, our sources telling us, and to use the exact words which were described to me, this is a mystery. And I think it's important that we reflect on this. There needs to be clarity on just what went wrong, as I've been reporting consistently over the last couple of weeks. This is important not just for Indian aviation and India's Dreamliner fleet, but for those airlines which operate the Boeing 787 Dreamliner around the world. As part of their investigations, the Accident Investigation Board is picking up samples from the debris, possibly looking at fuel, whether there was contamination there. Material samples of the surface of the runway is something that they're also picking up. Also, the entire issue of sabotage needs to be ruled out. Now, that's a process. Chances are that this may not have been sabotage, but we don't know that yet, which is why we need to look at that as well. And that's what the Accident Investigation Board will be looking at. In the interim period, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, which is the aviation watchdog in the country, has increased randomized searches or surveillance of existing aircraft, presumably the Boeing 787 operated in India by Air India, and I think a couple by Indigo as well. But it could be all aircraft, and so randomized sort of surveys. All of a sudden, they say we want more inspection data on this, more pre-flight data on this, whether it's on the crew or of the aircraft itself before an aircraft is cleared for a flight. This is a part of an enhanced series of measures taken by the Directorate General of Civil Aviation.
Right, Vishnu, talking about the black box again, we're talking about the outer service is what we believe is said to be damaged, and probably which is why the authorities are afraid perhaps to even open the black box at this stage.
So So again, just for the benefit of our viewers, there are two black box units. Each black box unit has two components in it. We've established that in what I was explaining. One of the black box units is fine. All right. So let's keep that aside for the moment. That could be opened up in India, possibly by Hindustan Aeronautics. The other black box unit, which should have the identical set of data, is what our investigators are now concerned on. They need to take a decision on where to send it, the US, Singapore, or the United Kingdom. There is an outer surface that's been damaged. It's been damaged as a result of falling and as a result of intense pressure. That outer surface is known to withstand extreme forces. It is designed for that and extreme heat. But given the fact that there has been damage to the outer surface, is why our investigators over here possibly want to take a call on whether to hold on to it over here, attempt to open it themselves, or send it to those with more experience, whether it's the National Transport Safety Board in the US or the US regulator, who are perhaps more experienced, right, in opening something like that and recovering that chip and ensuring that there is no scratch or damage on that chip before that chip is mated with its slave unit on the basis of which data is extracted. As far as the Oki unit is concerned, that may well be kept over here in India and opened up by Hindustan Aeronautics, or they may choose to actually send both units outside. At the end of the day, it's not about whether we open up and interpret the data over here in India or we send it out. We need the data, the global aviation community does. And a best case scenario, and the best decision possible will be taken. And I would suggest within the next 48 to 72 hours.